Welcome to the blueprint for the modern man. This is Rooted Kings.
Welcome to Rooted Kings. This is Marcus Odum.
This is Dr. Lambert.
Hey, and guys, we got a special episode for you. As you guys know, right about time is we're right around the corner from Mother's Day. And are you guys ready?
I'm trying to get ready. Man.
Man, I don't know if I'm quite ready for Mother's Day just yet. I got some ideas.
I'm just trying to put them things together, make sure that we keep a happy house.
Man, I think we're all trying to do that. So
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
episode, we're actually going to talk about a couple things to help the fellas out as they prepare for Mother's Day, and then also some of the things that help the women as we talk about some of the things that they've been going through as they lead into Mother's Day and what helped get them to where they are today.
Yes,
So stay tuned for this new episode of Rooted Kings. Our first topic, we were kind of talking about a little bit offline leading into this, like covering some of the things that help the ladies get to where they are today.
Yeah.
Really that lineage, like what makes a mom a good mom and what makes what really work when we talk about like Mother's Day.
Man, I know that there's such a long line of our black women holding it down while we're not available, incarcerated, dead, whatever the case may be, throughout slavery all the way up until present day. Even trying to hustle and trying to, make $1 out of 15 cents, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and then they also, today's, women are, having big careers. They're a lot of times the top breadwinner. And so, a lot of things have changed, but, they're still holding it down. And it's a fact, man, since the beginning of time, man, they have outproduced us over and over again. They've always been able to just come through and make sure that the house is being held down. So we appreciate it. For sure.
Yeah, no, I always say like the ladies, especially black women, are the most powerful people on earth.
Yeah.
Because of, like you just said, how they are able to hold things down. And not only hold things down within the house, but also hold things down externally. Because like you said, the multiple breadwinner household, and now you're starting to see from a leadership and even kind of an equal pay, even though there's still inequities when it comes down to payment.
Right.
But the fact that there are black women in leadership capacities that are able to now be able to produce and actually take care of home.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a challenge for them to be able to juggle.
Right.
So have you come across anyone that's trying to really work and juggle externally, be that leader in the home, and then also internally still try to keep things together and be that where we like to call sometimes that COO or CFO in the household?
Oh man, I think that ask your wives and your girlfriends about mental overstimulation and how they oftentimes feel like everybody wants a piece of me, right? My children want a piece of me, my family and friends want a piece of me, my husband, my man wants a piece of me for sure, and so there's this, kind of pull on their energy all the time. Now you add to it the sense of responsibility of I've got to be the one that is strong and holding it down and trying to make sure everything's being taken care of as the taskmaster that she is. Then you add to it just now she's got a career and she's got these ambitions and all of these sort of things. So it's a lot. And so you hear them talking a lot about being tired and being fatigued. Sometimes, brothers, you might feel like she's just downright disrespecting your contribution, but a lot of it is really more about her overwhelmed and just not really feeling seen and heard and supported, if you will, in the ways that matter to her. So
and that's really important, going back to what you're saying as far as that feeling of being overwhelmed, not being seen or heard, especially in, I call it the sacred space when you're home.
Right.
Because that's usually the time when a woman comes home, when they're coming, they're exiting the world, the external world, and coming into ours, where it's really their true retreat.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that men could do, the fellas, to really help as
Yeah.
you know, as we go into Mother's Day, to kind
Yeah.
of help give them that space, that sacred space, that peace.
You know, I find that it really means a lot to your lady when you're able to articulate the things that she doesn't think you get. When you're able to say, like, you know what, I noticed this. I noticed you do all of this. I noticed that you hold it down, that I see you doing this and I see you struggling. You know what, babe? Like, I can tell this is going to make you tired.
Right.
You know, let me handle this for you. Let me take care of you. And now the thing is that now you got to be careful not to bite off more than you can chew, because if you drop it,
Right.
that creates anxiety and stress and distrust, and it's actually more problems than what the value is,
Right,
if you
right,
will. So,
right.
so making sure that you are being a man of integrity, following through on what you said you're going to do, handle your business, and make sure that she doesn't regret letting you take over some of those things. And but that's your moment to like really be Superman and step in and really be her hero, because you saw it, you anticipated my needs, and you followed through.
So being the hero, you're going back to being a Superman. Like when you
Yeah.
say Superman, hero, like I hear security.
Yes.
And it's one of the
Yes.
things that the ladies really want,
100%.
coming out of that space, transitioning into the house.
Emotional
giving it-
security.
The emotional security, absolutely. Giving them that space of emotional security. So you talk about like picking up some of those tasks, right?
Okay.
So, and not overdoing it.
Mhm.
So are you saying like maybe start off small for the fellas? Like don't try to take every task and say, okay, I see you, I understand this, I'm gonna take care of all of this.
Yeah.
But maybe take care of some of the big things that you see that they're stressed out. How
Yeah.
can the fellas identify some of those things? Like what are some of the things they should listen out for?
You know, in a quiet moment when y'all are chilling and y'all are getting along, it's the best time to actually get those answers, right? Obviously, sometimes you ask those questions, you might not like the answers, right?
Right.
So you might want to ask her when y'all in a good mood,
Yeah.
you're chilling. It's like, you know what? Like back in the day when we were like, you know, hooking up and we were, you know, talking about getting serious or whatever. You know, what was it that you saw in me that you felt like was going to add value to your life? What was it that, you know, you were hoping for that I either uniquely brought to the table that you hadn't experienced before, or that you hoped that I would bring to the table that you hadn't, that you didn't want, maybe from your previous, like maybe from your dad, or maybe there's things that you said, you know, he is capable of bringing value to my life in a way that no other man I've met to date. And just take notes on what she says. And I want you to listen for what she says in principle, not in detail. But the details could be helpful if she names some stuff that you already used to do that you just don't do anymore or don't do enough.
Right.
Because that's low-hanging fruit, fellas. That's a layup. All you got to do is be like, oh.
No, you might want to say that again to the fellas. Out there.
Right.
Like, hey.
Right. Like, well, if she said, you used to rub my feet and take care of my pinky toe, right? You know, hey, man, like, just put it in your phone. Like, hey, every other day, I need to rub them feet. I need to work them corns. You know what I mean?
Right.
And show her that you're thinking about it, that you want to make her feel good in those ways. But then take it further. Like, okay, well, what is it about me taking care of your feet that really communicates to you that you're cared for, that you are being thought of, and that I'm anticipating what you need? Well, if I were to think about it in principle, I'm thinking, you know, this shows that I'm aware that you probably had like 10,000 steps today, and you did it in heels. And so I'm telling you, I see you, and I'm aware that, you know, your feet gotta be tired, because I can't even imagine.
I thought you were gonna be like, your feet gotta be tired.
Yeah.
You've been running through my mind all the day.
You can say that and just say, you know, kick your feet up, girl. Like, come on, let's have it. Yeah. Let me get out the lotion, you know what I'm saying? But like, But yeah, you know, it's important to understand the things in principle, not in detail. I think that we as men, sometimes we get too literal, and it's like, tell me where to point and shoot. Tell me what to do. And then it's like, I don't want to tell you that this is the women. I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to see it, understand what I need, and do it on your own.
Yeah.
Right? To which we say, I don't know, which further aggravates their sense of insecurity, because how do you not know? If you're paying attention, it should be obvious to them. Like, I mean, it should be obvious to you in their mind. Right? And so it's like, you're not studying me, which, to be fair, is true. Right? And so I like to coach the men to like look at, okay, let's go back to when we were dating. Let's go back to the early point of our marriage, pre-kids, all of the in-law drama, like job, career, like let's go when things were, you know, idling up and to the right, and things felt easy. It was LeBron and Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it was like just raw talent. I was doing all these things, and it just seemed like it was just easy with her, and it was easy for her with me.
Yeah, but if you don't mind, I do want to keep it a buck, because with men, especially at that point in time, you're also on the prowl per se. So as a being on the prowl as a hunter, you're focused and you're locked in. So you are watching those every movement, those subtle gestures, those things, and you're actually recording and retaining those things. So I like what you're saying as far as like go back to that moment, because that is very important. I think we lose that over time, where we move from being on the prowl, and then we become a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable. And I think what I'm hearing from you is like, hey, switch that back on, get back on the prowl. Yeah, 100%. That's what they're saying.
100%. Yeah, because they want to be pursued.
Right.
Now, obviously, the details for your wife versus my wife in regards to what that pursuit looks like is going to be a little different. But there's some low-hanging fruit if you just look at how we started and what attracted. And you can ask her about that without necessarily setting yourself up for some indictment of all the things you're doing wrong now. Now, she might say, yeah, you never do X, Y, Z like you used to, but you just acknowledge that that's true.
But I think that's important what you just said. Like when you're talking about like actually having acknowledgement, don't be so quick to defend. But listen to what she's saying. And then acknowledging really how she feels behind that and process it. Again, going back on the prowl. So you take it, you get that information, and then you go on the hunt.
Right. And this is your opportunity to show I still got it. I still got it. I'm still that dude. Right? And it's affirming as much to us as it is to them, that we are able to demonstrate that we're still that guy. Right? At my core, I'm still that guy. A lot of stuff has changed. You know, my knees ache a little differently. You know what I'm saying? I can't, I don't have as much time, etc. Right? But I can qualitatively be much more efficient in trying to make sure you feel pursued and you feel attended to. And I just need to know my targets, right? So then it starts with, what did I do well before? And then and then I start to imagine what that looks like now, right? And then I try those things. Now, fast forward, right? Now we got kids in the picture. Our wives went through a change when our kids came into the picture. We went through a change when our kids came to the picture, right? And maybe we could talk about that.
I was just about to say, let's talk about the change. Like, so the you're on the prowl, you're now in a relationship, you're dating, you're going through this. Let's just say you're married, now you have kids. Let's talk about that dynamic. Like, now, what switches? Like, what was it before to now? More so, what is it after? Now that she's actually a mother, going into motherhood.
I think the reality is that there's such a big difference between how women come into motherhood versus how we come into fatherhood. for us, like a child is like it's like an idea until it's like actually a football in the corner of my elbow. You know what I'm saying? Like
oh shit.
Yeah, it's like, oh snap. Like, I'm a daddy.
It's
like,
on now.
Yeah. You know, it's like all these like, you know, this movie's even about this where like, oh, he won't read the book and she's crying because he's like not doing the work. You know, it's like, he's not even here. We got 9 months. What you talking about?
Right.
You know, but it's just like the reality that it's a concept where it's actually a very real thing for them the entire pregnancy.
Absolutely.
And their bodies are changing. They're already making sacrifices before the child's even like living and breathing on his own.
Like
you know what I'm saying?
Physical, you know, emotional, hormonal.
Now we might experience their hormonal changes.
Right.
And them starting to switch up. You know what I mean? And so, you know, they're starting to nest. They're starting to think about like become anxious about like what will this look like for me to have to parent. They came from a single parent household. They're starting to imagine, well, man, you know, will my husband leave me like my dad left my mom, and will he be a present father like my dad was, you know, was or was not, you know what I mean? And how do I make space for that? How do I show up and make sure that I'm a good mother and all of these things? Like, are we creating space for them to talk to us about that versus making us feel attacked and criticized off jump?
Yeah,
you know?
I love the fact that you're talking about like leading in like the pregnancy, leading into motherhood. Because you're right. For us, going back to what you were saying earlier, for us, it's not real until the baby's born in your hands, crying or whatnot. Like you got a physical thing, which guys, you know, we're physical beings.
Yeah.
For a woman, like you said, she's carrying it, so it's actually growing inside her. So there is, to your point, a nurture kind of period where she's actually watching or feeling something grow inside of her through the delivery and making that transition. How can fellas, as the woman is literally going through a transition to motherhood, how can we help accommodate and carry her and support her through that process?
I think it's trying to stay locked into that same pursuit, but the pursuit game has changed. Now you're in pursuit of her emotional security. You're trying to make sure that she feels safe. You're trying to make sure that you're, you know, obviously when the children come into the world, right? You're trying to protect them. You're trying to care for them. Just trying to attend to these things, like being on your post and making sure that everybody's good and everybody's protected. You know, that has nothing to do with how much you earn. That anybody can do that. That is invested and present. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of like, it's an attentiveness versus you know, financial, like, you know, I can do that as a teacher as much as I can do that as a surgeon. Even if, as a surgeon, if I'm working crazy shifts, I might have to pay for somebody to help out, if you will. But I need to make sure that these details are being attended to and that my girl's good as well as my child, if you will, right? So, like, making sure, like, look, I got it, babe. You're going to be fine. I'm going to make sure you have what you need.
I got you covered. I got you covered. Even if it's through a third party, but it's at least I'm thinking about you through that particular process.
Absolutely. Now, there is no wife that really loves her husband that's going to say that she would rather you pay for it versus you do it yourself. So she values your presence over your financial, like, you know, I mean, some shallow chicks out there that might be like, nah, just give me the money. But I would, you know, the majority that I've spoken to, they, you know, they would much rather you be present and you be attentive than you make it rain, you know?
Yeah, and I like that. As far as like kind of a long range being attentive versus a Birkin bag of Louboutin shoes.
Right.
You know, that's short term, right?
Right.
You know, that's an instant gratification, but a guy is there and supportive over time, and like you said, being attentive over time. You know, that trumps it all. So
100%. And you know, today's woman, man, they're like, I can get it myself. I don't really need you for that. But I can't replace a present father for my kids. I can't replace somebody that is gonna rub them corns or going to, you know, take tasks off of me so I don't have to stress out about it. Listen to me and let me vent and let me get stuff off my chest. You can't replace that.
Can't replace that. So, and one of the things you're talking about, like, can't replace, like, one of the things I hear, especially from the ladies, is like, hey, I just want my peace. So when you're making that transition, is they're becoming mothers and things like that, while they love their kids.
Yeah.
Ladies, we know you love your kids, but at the same time, conversely, they want their peace.
Yeah.
So how, as men, how can we help establish that peace for them, especially leading into Mother's Day?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously anything that you can do to reduce their anxiety is really what we're talking about in terms of emotional security, right? So it's like, how can I let you know that you're seen and you're heard, and we are paying attention all year long. We just taking this particular weekend or day to recognize you and show appreciation for what you have, what you always contribute to our household. And then, teaching the kids to do the same, right? Hey, Mother's Day is coming up. What we doing? And actually, I got daughters. So, my daughters, because they're like trying to model themselves after their mother, they provide a little bit of a cheat code for me, right? Because they're studying her in ways that with eyes that I don't even have, in regards to like, yo, no, mama won't want that. Or I know growing up, my dad used to always, get my mom jewelry, and that was like his go-to, and she would appreciate it, but it was like, that was what he wanted to go to every time, because he saw, like, in his mind, like, that was the ultimate gift. But after a while, my mom would be like, okay, I got enough. Like, but my dad would be like, I'll get her flowers. And when I was at K, they had this really special, what I mean? And, I know you said no more jewelry, but this is a really special piece. And then my mom would be like, oh my God.
All she thinking about is walking around looking like Mr. T now.
Right.
She over there, and you in the corner pitying the fool.
Right.
Not your dad. No.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Hey.
Hey, what you trying to say about my mama, bro?
No. I can't win here, man.
But it's like really realizing that, you might need to consult the kids, other people with other ideas to make sure that you are really attending to what she would want, because the goal is to make sure that, hey, I am paying attention to you and I'm paying attention to what you want. So, now, my sister or my brother and I would be like, no, don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? And no, man, like, hey, what you getting, Mom? I'm getting this. No, take that back. She don't want that. She want this. You know what I mean? And so I think being able to mine other ideas, do your homework, and which is really hard to do at the last minute, fellas. I know my wife is very particular about, no matter how good the gift is, if she finds out that I got it the day or two before, it cheapens the value tremendously. And so I don't understand that, because to me, I appreciate that you got something. And as a matter of fact, you could even be like, yo, man, it's been a really crazy week. But I got you, man. I'm going to get it to you in a couple of days or whatever. It got caught in the mail. But I'm going to hook you up, right? I'm good with that, but not her.
So to be in a safe space, can I counsel the counselor?
Yes, sir. Come on.
Okay, so maybe, although she appreciates the gift,
yes,
it is because she feels as though it's the last minute thought.
Yep.
And you weren't thinking of her all of that time leading into
100%.
it. So
the lack of thoughtfulness is the point,
and,
right?
Right.
And that's the issue. And it's like, I do think of you, but no, not in the way that I need you to.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. So she doesn't feel thought of in the ways that matter most to her. And married 22 years.
That's awesome.
I should know better. I should. So it's like, yeah.
So fellas, hey, Don't wait till the last minute. Just saying. Okay, so that was great. But if you don't mind, Kevin, let's take a moment and just think about some of those influences, those maternal influences that you've experienced. Maybe not just your mom, but within the community. Maybe you saw on TV. Like, what are some of those women that you saw that, like, hey, this is what I believe a great mom to be, or I feel this is a great mom that I would like.
You know what's really crazy, man, is like, you know, my mom actually looks strikingly like Felicia Rashad. And so, like, same haircut and everything, right? And so, I mean, I don't know anybody that didn't grow up watching the Cosby Show and having, you know, being inspired by that family. I mean, you know, what Cosby did with that was just genius. And it was so revolutionary because it showed the world what, I mean, they were an upper middle class family, but like, you know, with a doctor and a lawyer, but nonetheless, it showed them a different picture of black moms, if you will. Her sophistication, her class, her education, the way she spoke, all of that, right? But then we have like, you know, what's happening. We got, we've got
good times.
Good times.
Florida Heaven's holding it down for the family,
yes,
right?
Yes. Now those women actually reminded me more of my grandmother. You know, in terms of just the way they talked and the way in which they, you know, just very more like old school, traditional, you know, just, I don't know. It felt like a little bit more gospel-ish, like, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I mean, I think these women, you know, brought to the screen like some of these things that black women have to deal with as they're trying to hold it down. Yeah. You know, where their husbands keep losing jobs or, you know, and so these are, it actually gave me more of a window into like the, how much of that we're not a monolith, that like the black families have a diverse experience, if you will. And a lot of times people tend to stereotype off of the lower SES, but there is there's a variety of black experiences being had, right? We've got, I love about Good Times is that you had a couple that were faithfully married for all those years. Yes. And then you see like that with the Cosby Show, right? Where, you know, where a lot of times there's a stereotype of like us being absent and black men not being there for their families or whatever, which is really unfair, if you will. Like, not to say that there aren't the challenges around that, but there's a lot of us that are trying to be fathers and being present for our children that are really not being recognized, if you will.
Absolutely, and I would even, in concert with what you shared as well, like the Coretta Scott Kings, of course, and just what she had to go through being able to take care of the kids, especially with Dr. Martin Luther King, you know, being that face, and when you talk about civil rights, and really, you know, while he was doing what he was doing, leading civil rights, he still had to have somebody at home. Like that story is always untold, like all of the work that she had to do to keep things together, even when the FBI tried to sabotage the relationship, as we all know. And he fast forwarding even now to, you know, I can't have this conversation without talking about Michelle Obama and the level of grace that she handled and really put us, or when I say black women, excuse me, in the forefront of like, hey, this is class. You know, all those stereotypes people have about black women that they see on TV and everything like that, and then you have Michelle Obama front and center and just so gracefully just really carried on and been able to talk about like real situations, real things in an articulate way, and really help propel us, black women, I should say, into the future, what the expectation should be. Not just, you know, we do this, we dance, we do all of these things. Yes, we do that, and plus all of these other things.
Yes, sir.
Black women can go and throw down to, you know, we can do, you know, to the latest Juvenile song, but at the same time, you know, run a business. Which is just awesome. I love it. I love it. So,
no, I mean, it's interesting when we think about like just when I think about TV, when I think about artists, when I think about the boardroom and just all of the different spaces that they have stepped up and stepped in, and even in the behind the scenes, even more so, I would say, you know, in terms of just being that backbone of our families,
Yes.
through all of the mess that we've been through. And I mean, I think, you know, Tupac's running through my head right now. You are appreciated, but it's like, you know, really thinking about like how most of the black men that I know that are doing well and are able to communicate around their feelings and able to articulate, you know, like without like having like a toxic masculinity or whatever. A lot of them have close relationships with their mothers and their sisters.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And it's like realizing like how critical that is to our manhood to have a relationship with somebody that actually is going to edify and even sometimes put their foot up our behind, to push us to be the men that we're supposed to be. And sometimes that's, well, I feel like always that is to be better than the men that preceded us, but I think that nurturing and discovering that, I mean, I think that I do believe that having male role models and having male mentors is critical to really be able to operate at a high level and to continue to like excel. But I think that women inform that in terms of emotional intelligence. I feel like I've learned more in regards to emotional intelligence from the women in my life.
Right.
And the men, seeing other men actually try to walk that out and integrate that.
Right.
Is where the mentorship comes in. It's like, okay, I hear you, mom. I hear you, wife. I hear you, sister. I hear you, even daughter. But what does that look like in male form? It's helpful to have other men, other brothers that are like, okay, I see you trying to do that. You know what I mean?
And I was about to say, like, just for me personally, I always look at, you know, black men as far as like, I look at the men that always lead.
Yeah.
And the men set charge and set the targets and goals and things and they push. But I also look at black women to be that balance.
Yeah.
And you know, shout out to, you know, all the black women out there for
Absolutely.
really holding it down, because I think they never get enough credit for that. Like we, you know, when it doesn't matter when anything hit the fan in this country, the balance always comes back down to black women.
And that's what Mother's Day is all about. Is like, no, we see you.
We see you. Yes.
We see you, and it's appreciated. And please don't stop.
And you know what? I think that's a great way for us to take it out on that point. We see you. Ladies,
yes,
we see you and we thank you and we salute you. We appreciate you. Yes. Thank you from the fellas here at Rooted Kings, Marcus Odum,
Dr. Kevin Lambert.
Hey, until next time, again, for all the ladies out there, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And we thank you again.